Is America that much different than Zimbabwe? That's the question I want to ask you today. Just got done taking Pablo for a walk, but man, it's cold out there, so I came in instead of doing a video. I just got done reading an article about Robert Mugabe. Now, you may or may not know of Robert Mugabe. The unfortunate thing is, it's now occurred to me that a lot of the younger generation doesn't know history very well, if at all, frankly. The only history they know is how bad white people are, how bad Europeans are, and whatnot. And it's sad. It's sad because, look, I'm not proud to be white. I'm not ashamed to be white because I believe Jesus died for all. He doesn't care your skin. He doesn't care your ethnicity. He doesn't care your language. He cares that you are a human being and he wants to have a personal relationship with you. Thus, it doesn't matter. However, I do find it offensive, this white privilege stuff. That's nuts. Anyway, it's funny because I sat there and I'm reading about Robert Mugabe, who was the dictator of Zimbabwe. So what happened was in the old days, the 70s, and well before that, prior to South Africa and apartheid, everyone jumped on the bandwagon how evil that was. And rightly so, it was. It's an evil regime, without question. But prior to South Africa was Rhodesia. And then the independence movement, Robert Mugabe took over Rhodesia, they did what's going to happen in South Africa, or if not happening right now, is they murdered a lot of helpless white farmers. They kicked them off the land. And look, man, we can argue about this all day long. It doesn't matter. This is history. And Mugabe seemed to be a guy like a Mandela type back in the day. And then, of course, power corrupts out absolutely. And so Mugabe gets in office and he rapes the land without question. And he does what all tyrannical regimes do, which is he got his wealth and everybody else got poor and put up against the wall and bullets in their head. I mean, this is just what happens. Now, same thing happened with Castro. Same thing happened with Chavez in Venezuela. I mean, Chavez's daughter has billions in offshore assets. The whole thing, while people are freaking literally dumpster diving for food. Castro, the same thing. Any left-wing tyrant, and you'll see the same thing. The people in power get rich. How different, though, if you think about it, is that from the U.S.? I mean, let's think about this. And this is going to sound political, but it's not because it's both sides. So Joe Biden's son gets wealthy like you would believe from the U.S. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation gets wealthy like you wouldn't believe from the U.S. because of their political power. Mark Warner gets wealthy from the U.S. because of politics. Trent Lott, Harry Reid, the list goes, Paul Ryan. Who was I just reading about the other day that joined some board? I can't remember. The list goes on and on and on. Now, they might not be putting people against the wall and putting a bullet in the back of their heads, but they're essentially... that's one thing they're not doing. Well, great. We're going to reward these guys because they're not killing people. But they certainly have the ability of the prosecution to put people in jail they don't like. Just look at Kamala Harris, man. I mean, it's nuts. And look at Janet Reno. I mean, and look, man, the non-Republican prosecutors are legion too, for sure. But at the end of the day, how much different is the U.S. from these other regimes? And we can sit here all day long and say Mugabe was a tyrant. So what happened was Mugabe had $10 million of liquid assets. And in Zimbabwe, $10 million is worth a huge amount of money. And he had 8 homes. And he died without a will, which is ironic in of itself. But still, at the end of the day, Mugabe died a multimillionaire in a country that has been brutalized by poverty. And yet we're sitting here thinking, okay, that's evil. The tyrants, once again, klepto, they steal their way to wealth by the backs of their army and stuff. And we say, oh, that's, they should be like the U.S. I'm sitting there thinking, we got tons of U.S. people who just get into power with not a penny to freaking. Look at Bernie Sanders. And look, I know I'm leaning towards the left because that's who I follow. Because I think you have to follow how bad the left is. But trust me, man, there's tons and tons of people on the right who do the same thing. I mean, I just look at Paul Ryan. I look at Trent Lott. All these guys get enriched, John McCain, by the basis of their political power. Is that really that much different than Mugabe? No, it's not. You can't get rich like that. Just you and me. But if you're in politics, you can. Why do you think politics brings these freaking snake oil salesmen? It's such appealing to these freaking just these lunatics because it's quick riches. I mean, the risk reward of politics is such that all you have to do is risk a campaign loss and the defeat of that. And if you win, you're going to be well taken care of for the rest of your life. The U.S. political system isn't that much to be proud of relative to the rest of the world. Now, it is in terms of regard, again, you're not being put up against the wall. But, you know, kind of in some way, when you think about the restrictions on free speech and whatnot, and the restrictions on just a corporate culture that says, if you get out of line, you lose your job. If you get out of line, I mean, just, it's not that far removed to think that we could be there. It's just sad because you think about I just think always about the men in the, you know, just read Newt Gingrich's book on Valley Forge. These guys who were just boys, and they were out there in Valley Forge while the Congress was getting together in Philadelphia, promising them goods. I mean, we're talking just shovels and tents that when they arrived at Valley Forge in the middle of wintertime, they'd at least have cover from the freaking elements. And they didn't have anything. They had nothing. They get to Valley Forge, there's nothing. In the middle of winter, in the dark, some of these guys had no freaking boots on their feet, no food to eat. And yet, they did that so Trent Lott and Paul Ryan could get rich. It's just as sad. Look, I don't have, whoever it was, Ben Franklin, or somebody said democracy is the worst governing authority except all the other ones out there. I completely agree with that. But even then, those guys in politics, they took care of themselves. And everyone hates Benedict Arnold. They say Benedict Arnold, but if you read about Benedict Arnold and you read like Kenneth Roberts and whatnot, which you should, which is just wonderful historical fiction, you realize that he said this is nuts. You know, the politicians are not, they're sacrificing the lives of idealists for their own enrichment, and they're doing it actually because of their ineptitude. And that hasn't changed. And so as much as I love America, and I'm an American patriot, I'm an American nationalist, I will not hesitate to deny that. But man, as we sit here today and we can bash, oh, look at Robert Mugabe, how did he have 8 million or 8 houses and $10 million while other people were starving to death? Well, we're not that far removed. And the point about this video is that humanity is a very tricky thing. It's easy to fault others, but if you just look under your own rug, you see a lot of corruption here too. And you know, at the end of the day, you can't. I mean, look, Mugabe's a scumbag, and I'm glad he's dead. I'm not gonna lie to you. Chavez is a scumbag. I'm glad he's dead. Maduro, he's a scumbag. He'll be dead soon. The guy who runs China, he's a scumbag. I get all that, but at the end of the day, we aren't angels here in the good old U.S. of A. We're better. We're better than everybody else, but we aren't angels. And I think it'd be silly to assume that we have the perfect governing authority, because democracy, while better than these other places, leaves a lot still to be desired. And I don't know, I just wanted to point that out. There's no real method to my madness here, just to say, yeah, it does leave, what's that guy doing? It just makes you kind of think about it, like, yeah. The point is, don't look to others to create your own happiness. Look inside. You create your own happiness, and if you want to be happy, you make yourself happy. All right, we'll see you.